What if one of the alignment and infrastructure questions God wants you to answer before expanding your team is this? What is your theology of ministry compensation? If you've been following me on other platforms, you know that we are having some great conversations about what I'm calling the great return back to the church. If you followed me for some time on any channel, you know that the design of my organizations are not to hand leaders all of the answers. We're designed to ask the questions healthy vision requires. I've found that organizations rarely struggle because they don't have enough information. There's plenty of information that you have at your fingertips. They often struggle because they're asking the wrong questions. So today, I want to ask some different and sometimes controversial questions to ministry and church leaders. What is your theology of ministry compensation? Now, before anyone misunderstands where I'm going, let me acknowledge something. I understand ministry budgets are tight. I've worked with churches, nonprofits, and organizations long enough to know that every dollar matters. Leaders are often making difficult decisions between today's needs and tomorrow's possibilities. This isn't a conversation about criticizing churches with limited resources. It's a conversation about alignment. Alignment isn't simply how much money we have, because I believe that it isn't simply about how much money we have. It's about what our financial decisions reveal about what we believe. Here's another question. If your church is a 501c3, basically anyone can review your publicly available financial information. If someone who had never attended your church looked at your budget or your annual filing, what story would it tell? Would it communicate that you're primarily funding today's ministry? Or would it reveal that you're intentionally building toward tomorrow's vision? Because there's a difference. Mission asks, what has God called us to do today? Vision asks, who and what must we build so this mission continues for generations? Healthy organizations align and steward both. If every dollar is consumed by maintaining what exists today, when are we building the leaders, systems, and structures that the future requires? And if every dollar is invested in future dreams while today's ministry suffers, we've missed something. So let me give you a few examples. Maybe your church has a beautiful worship ministry. The musicians are equipped with the right equipment, the technology is current, the production supports the weekend experience. Those may be some wonderful investments. But here's the question. Are you making the same intentional investment in the people who are discipling new believers throughout the week? Or perhaps you've invested heavily in facilities. The building is beautiful. The campus is growing. But have you invested in developing future leaders who will shepherd the people filling those spaces? Or maybe your church has faithfully cared for today's ministry for years. The bills are paid, the lights are on, programs continue. But where in the budget are you preparing the next generation of teachers, pastors, administrators, care leaders, or ministry innovators? I've even heard churches say, we can't afford another staff member. What if we change the language from we can't to how can we? Because sometimes the better question is, can we afford not to develop the people our vision will require 5 years from now? Again, these aren't criticisms. They're just questions for your consideration. Because every organization, regardless of size, profitability, status, every organization has limited resources. The question isn't whether you can fund everything. The question is whether your financial decisions are intentionally moving your vision forward. Sometimes that means strengthening what already exists. Other times it means making the difficult decision to invest what doesn't exist yet, but what your future mission will require. Healthy vision holds both of these in a lot of tension. This is why I believe that compensation is a much bigger conversation than just payroll. It's an expression of theology because every compensation decision answers questions like, what work do we value? Who are we investing in? What gifts are we cultivating? What responsibilities are we preparing for? Where are there gaps in our infrastructure? And perhaps the most important question, are we compensating people simply to keep the ministry operating? Or are we investing in people who are helping leadership steward the vision God has entrusted to us? Imagine someone looking at your budget without hearing a single sermon. Could they identify your priorities? Would they see intentional investment in the community, in teaching, discipleship, administration, leadership development, and the people who are quietly carrying the mission every day, every week, every month, every year? Or would they only see the cost of keeping the doors open another year? Budgets are more than financial documents. They reveal how you're stewarding the money that you have been entrusted with. And they often reveal whether you're preparing for the future or preserving the present. So today, I'm not asking who deserves a paycheck. I'm asking an alignment and infrastructure question. What is your theology of ministry compensation? If something I shared today resonated with you, I genuinely love to know what it was. Not because I assume I have the answers, but because I believe some of the most meaningful conversations begin with the right questions. So if this stirred something in your thinking about stewardship, alignment, compensation, or the vision you're carrying, I welcome the opportunity to have a conversation with you. Tell me what resonated. Tell me why this caught your attention. Tell me where you need support. Because sometimes the very thing we can't stop thinking about is the place where God is inviting us to lead, learn, or steward differently. So until next time, keep asking the right questions your healthy vision requires.